Y'all, it's been one crazy last 5 months, and I'm going to go ahead and just start chatting because I think this message needs to be heard by someone. And it's about following our intuition and just listening to it. Because as soon as I stepped foot on this land, I knew something was wrong. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. But our intuition compared to fear or versus any other low vibrational emotion, we get it so misconstrued sometimes because we're so used to how fear feels. Fear is that feeling when your chest is clenching, your stomach's clenching, you are just uneasy, uncomfortable, and we start thinking about all the different things that have happened in the past that are similar to what's happening right now. And that's a big indication that you're acting out of fear, that's the emotion that you're feeling in that moment. Versus intuition. Intuition is that loud voice in the back of your mind that sounds just like yours most of the time, but it's telling you what to do. And it's up to you whether you actually listen or not. For me, I chose not to listen, and I decided to stay here for 5 months because I'm heavily infatuated with someone who lives on this land. The only caveat with that is that person does not live alone. There's actually someone else who lives on the land with them, and it's been absolutely it's been a shit storm since I stepped foot on here. So I want to just go ahead and say that I'm not going to name that person. I'm not going to, specifically speak about them. What I am going to do, because one of the things I know about conflict is that in every conflict there's always a truth, and that truth is based on your perspective. So what I am going to talk about is my perspective of this situation, regardless of what, the other factor is saying or not. So my perspective of this situation is because it's so similar to something else I've dealt with in the past in a previous relationship. The first thing I thought was, okay, this is a lesson that I have not learned, that I get an opportunity to learn. And I'm like, damn, I really hate this lesson though. I really don't need it. I think I'm good without having to deal with this drama. But, it's coming up, and it's actually 10 times worse than I've ever had to deal with. So, and I'll get a little specific. So there's been a lot of things that have been said about me, which for the first couple of months, it's whatever, if it's not true, it's not true. If you just let it roll off your shoulders. But then it became like a lot of maliciousness and a lot of being set up. And one of my biggest fears is being put in a situation or manipulated into a situation, and then I'm going to jail or prison because of it or something. I know it's really crazy, but I do fear that. And unfortunately, it's so stressful that I know if I don't calm down, I'm going to end up manifesting it in my life. So my fear, again, is to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and be accused of something that I haven't done. And since I've been here, I've been accused of things that I haven't been doing. The tipping point of that recently is I've been accused of hurting someone or trying to hurt someone. And I think that this is the beginning of the end for me when it comes to being on this particular property that I've never been comfortable on anyway. And again, the reason why I stayed is because the person that I am in a romantic relationship with lives on the property, and we were waiting for the best moment for him to feel comfortable enough to leave. And he was also on the fence as well. So on one hand, I have someone that I care about deeply, and I'm respecting, respecting their divine timing. But at the same time, I'm being disrespected constantly, and lies are being told about me. And now I'm being accused of something very serious that I think at this point it's time for me to go ahead and just go. So instead of waiting until the first week of October, what I'm going to do instead is leave in a couple of days. And if he's coming with me, that's great. But if he doesn't, then, we'll just go from there. But me personally, I'm going to go ahead and trust my intuition like I should have when I first arrived, and go ahead and just leave the property. Luckily, as soon as I step foot off the property, I feel a lot better. So whenever I feel really, really, anxious or like something's about to happen, what I do instead is I just drive around the corner. I go to the cemetery, which is funny because most people think cemeteries are creepy, but I actually think they're pretty, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? I think that being on the property of a cemetery is soothing in a way. I feel the energy there. I feel I guess the past and the beauty of the past. I'm not really sure how to put it into words, but the importance of trusting our intuition is just as important as flipping a light switch in a room of complete darkness. It's just as important, so that you can see, obviously. It's just as important as arming yourself in a battle, or not arming yourself in a battle. It's just as important as, bringing water with you in the desert when you're walking on a trail. And I know those are really weird examples, but those are all examples that I've been dealing with recently. And it's so funny because how much we trust our intuition and we follow it and we listen to it will be based on our current theme of consciousness. I'll say that again. Our current theme of consciousness will determine how much we listen to that voice in the back of our minds, our higher self. How much we're acting in our lower self will determine how much we listen to that voice in our mind. So I question myself constantly, like, what am I acting out of, my lower self or my higher self? Do I want so bad to have company on the road that I'm willing to be accused of something so serious that could get me in a lot of trouble? And I know that, you guys are probably thinking, well, if you didn't do it, there's nothing to be afraid of. But let's be honest here. I don't trust the judicial system. I don't trust, in our criminal justice system. I know that people have been locked up for less and with no evidence. So when you have someone who is struggling with their mental health, who's making things up, and, for whatever reason that is, I'm not going to go into that. But the fact is they are. And now I'm put in a position where I'm being threatened. I think that's a big indication that it's time to go. It's time to go. Like, I'm kind of over it. Not kind of, I'm definitely over it. So I question myself for the last 5 months. What have I learned? What can I learn in the last couple of days that I have here? And am I willing to leave something behind that I worked really hard for? And that is my relationship. So for those of you who are watching this video and you're wondering whether it's intuition or fear, you're wondering whether you need to make that choice or not, what I would do is look 5 months ahead and picture yourself where you want to be. And if you don't visualize yourself in the place that you are now, what steps do you need to take to get there? What steps do you need to take to get there? How do you feel right now about the decision when you do visualize that? How does your body feel? Are you restrictive? Do you feel restrictive? Are you uncomfortable? Or do you feel a release? Do you feel a release of guilt, of anxiety? Do you feel comfortable? So those are the feelings you got to pay attention to. And that will help you determine or make your decision. And remember, you're never leaving anything behind. You're not giving up. You are not, failing or anything like that. What you're doing is you're making a decision. And that was the whole purpose of being alive. And this human experience is to be able to make a choice and to follow those choices. So I'm going to make a choice. And that is in the next couple of days, I'm leaving no matter what. And if I feel uncomfortable, then I'm just going to leave the land. Because other than that particular, being that is here, that's causing a lot of the issues and the turmoil, there's also other entities here that are feeding off of that person. So, there are darker beings, which is what happens. One of the things my partner says is that a lot of the times the person that we have the most conflict with is the conduit or the vessel. The conduit or the vessel, that's my partner's dog, for an entity. And the entity's sole purpose is to get to you through that person, through the person that's closest to you, whether it be physically or mentally or, a family member or whatever. So that being said, remember, it's not the vessel, it's the energy. And what do we know about dark energy? What do we know about negative energy is we have the ability to alchemize that into something positive. If you want to do it. And if not, then leave. It can only affect you when you're physically around it. Let me rephrase that. It can't only affect you when you're physically around it. It can actually affect you far away, but it can only affect you if you allow it to. I'll just say that. So if you liked anything about this video, please let me know in the comments. I really hope it resonated with someone. But yeah, follow me or subscribe to my channel. And I'm also still doing private readings if you're interested. I'm a psychic medium. And I'm also teaching you how to do this yourself. Why? Because we're in a time where we need to know how to do this for ourselves, because we all have very strong intuitions and most of us don't listen and we don't follow it. So I love you. Have a great rest of your day and listen to your intuition.